All right, let's go. It's been a while since I made a video, so I thought I'd come back by talking about something I'm really into, like comics, and more so teams in fiction. I've had this idea for like a few years, but I finally got around to doing it this year. So today I want to go over ensemble statistics for the Umbrella Academy, written by Gerard Way and drawn by Gabriel Ba. It has some of my favorite art I've ever seen in comics. It's just highly endearing. The way it comes off as a cartoon, I think it's got a lot of charm to it. So I went back over them recently and tracked four stats throughout the series: interactions, appearances, power display, and mask sporting. I'll only be going over volumes 1 through 3, however, so we won't be including the back issues at the end of volumes, the current Plan B storyline, or Klaus's miniseries You Look Like Death. I'll also only be tracking the main seven Hargreaves from Luther to Vanya, as well as studying the interactions between them. So I won't be focusing on supporting characters like Reginald, Pogo, or the Sparrow Academy. With that being said, let's take a look at the performance of the Umbrella Academy. Appearance is determined by how many scenes a character makes an appearance in. I was originally going to count each time they appeared by panel before I quickly realized what a stupid idea that is. It got far easier when I decided to do it by scene. But for a character to get a point for appearance, they must have a defining body part visible somewhere in the scene. Memories count, but hallucinations and dream idealizations of characters do not. The mask on stat is pretty self explanatory. As long as a character appears in a scene wearing a mask, they'll get a point for it.
Yeah. Ooh, ooh, ooh.
Luther and Ben are the only Hargreaves to have their mask on as many times as they appear. Luther even wears his in a dream sequence. Diego was the top competitor in the mask on race until the Dallas arc in Volume 2. There he appears in 5 scenes without a mask. After Volume 1, Allison and Klaus only wear their mask once per volume, each instance taking place in a flashback. Bob only appears in his mask twice throughout the story. Once as a baby, and lastly during a flashback before he disappeared. In Volume 3, he never wears it. Bonnie is only seen wearing her mask 3 times in 3 different flashbacks in Volume 1, and then never again for the rest of the series.
Yeah.
Power display is determined by how many times a character uses their powers on the page. It has to be explicitly done or it won't count. I won't be counting the laser gun and jetpack Luther has since it's not actually his ability. I will be counting his piece of strength despite his gorilla body, because if not, it wouldn't be fair for him in the race. Luther only uses his strength 2 times in Volume 2 and 4 times in the other volumes. Diego's power in the show is about manipulating the trajectory of objects while in midair. In the comics, he's only proficient with knives. Instead, his power allows him to hold his breath underwater indefinitely, meaning Diego only used his power one whole time in the entire series, and even that is just me being charitable. He was in shallow water for probably a few seconds. There was a previous scene where he jumped into the water to make an exit, but we only see him enter the water, and once he's gone, he's pretty much gone. So if he uses power, it happened off page. Allison is the first Hargreaves we see to use their power in the comic. She uses it twice in Volume 1 and 2, and 3 times in Volume 3. Klaus was moving steady throughout the power display race before I had a fatal realization. He wasn't using the power belts the Hargreaves used when they were kids. Klaus is just capable of flying on his own. Throw down on top of all his other wacky abilities, and Klaus's score skyrocketed throughout the race, especially since he really loves farming the fact that he can fly. In the show, Five has the ability to teleport through time and space, even rewinding a moment itself on occasion. In the comics, it's more so that Five can travel through time only, not space. And I won't be counting the micro jumps that are explained in Chapter 3 of Volume 2, because I think it's a silly way of saying he's good at martial arts. With that said, Five only uses his powers 2 times throughout the series. The first time we see it is in a flashback performed by Elder Five, and the last time we see it is done by Elder Five again, but never present Five. We see Ben use his powers once per volume, and we see Vanya use her powers in 3 different scenes in Volume 1, and then never again.
Yeah.
Interaction points are earned whenever a character verbally addresses someone. They don't need a response to qualify for the point either. A point won't be given if interacted with or if a character is speaking to a group instead of a specific individual. Common to appearances, I was originally going to count every line a character spoke before realizing what a stupid idea that would be. Uh, so instead, each person can only earn an interaction point per character in a scene, meaning no matter how many times Luther talks to Diego in one scene, it'll only count as one interaction. Klaus has a lot of lines throughout this series, but he's hardly talking to anyone in particular, just sort of talking out loud sometimes. Everyone has interacted with Luther the most except for Vonnie and Ben, the latter of which never interacted with Luther once. Klaus and Diego interacted with Ben the most, and it was only twice for both of them. Allison did interact with Ben once, and it was only to tell him to grow up. Luther and Diego have interacted with each other an equal 17 times, meaning they are the most likely pair to reciprocate engagement. Despite how much Diego displays hating Luther, Luther is always the first and last person he talks to in a volume, the only exception being at the end of Volume 3 with his last interaction going to 5. Ben, inter- ben only interacted with Klaus and Diego for a total of 3 tallies. In Volume 2, Luther, Klaus, and Diego unintentionally form a trio, and Luther is the only one to make interactions outside of it. This leads to Luther having a streak of 4-2, 4-2, 4-2, 4-4 before being broken up, whereas Diego and Klaus get streaks of 1-1-4, 1-4-4, 1-1, and 2-1-1, 2-1-1, 2-1-1, respectively. In Volume 3, Luther interacts with Diego 6 times in a row, while Diego interacts with Luther 3 times in a row twice. Meanwhile, Allison interacts with 5 3 times in a row, while 5 interacts with Allison 4 times in a row on 2 separate occasions in the series.
Oh, oh, oh.
Luther takes first place in appearances and Mask On by 42 points for both. Ben Hargreaves is the only sibling to not break double digits in terms of appearances, while in the Mask On category, Luther and Diego are the only siblings to have worn their mask over 10 times. In the race for the most interactions, Luther takes first place again with 45 points, the only Hargreaves to interact more times than they appeared. Interactions is also the only leaderboard to come the closest to matching the character's rank with their birth order. And finally, in Power Display, Klaus ends Luther's sweep with a total of 22 points. The two brothers are the only members in the family to use their abilities over 10 times.